Hi folks, I'm Gary. I don't have a name for this channel yet. My daughter suggested that I started doing YouTube videos, or they mentioned Twitch, which I don't even know what it is. I'm a bit of a technophobe, so I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. I'll show you around my garage at some point. I'm one of these people that collects tools. I'll have a go at most things. I was a coach builder to trade, and then became a firefighter. Worked as a mechanic, and I'm now retired, and I'm doing my own thing. I love doing up old cars. Love older machinery. I hate the modern tech stuff. And I decided being retired, I'm getting into gardening as well, and the local farmers allowed me to use a bit of ground that used to be his parents' garden to work away at. It's been left for years and it's overgrown, so I decided to buy a brush cutter rather than borrowing one, because I'll use it quite a bit. And I thought, what better to do than do an unpacking of a brush cutter and a little review of it. And it's the Parker brand. I know that's probably back to front or something, but it's a Parker brand backpack brush cutter. So we're going to go through the brush cutter from unpacking it, building it up, because it comes in parts, and we'll see how good it is when the weather gets a bit better. Because at the moment it's January 2026 up in Scotland. It's been pissing down with rain for a couple of weeks now. I think we had one day sunshine. There's flooding about, so we'll not be getting in the garden for a wee while. I'm hoping to do a channel. Myself and my partner Lita, we did Facebook kind of travel blog with our 38-year-old Heimer motorhome which recovered and saved from the scrap, and it's done a couple of trips around Europe now, southern and northern Europe. So have a look at the Facebook page. It's called Heimer Bill if you're interested in that, and I'll look into how to develop a YouTube video page. Now I'm retired, I'm never bored. I've got so many things to do, so many projects. My actual sister says I've got ADHD for an old guy, so I'm never sitting on my arse. But yeah, let's unpack the parkerbrand.com brush cutter, backpack brush cutter. Now, it cost £89, which I thought was amazing, because it's a 52cc backpack brush cutter. It said on the website it was reduced from £140. I've been looking at several, and I thought, I looked online, the reviews weren't too bad, and at the price I just thought it can't be beat. So let's see. Let's get into the box. So I came this morning, I've already cut the box open, as you can see, because I showed you the user's manual. So let's see what's in the box. Okay, it said £89. From first view it looks like quite a neat motor, so we'll just lay everything out. That's the brush cutter head. I suppose I should read through the manual. But I'm a man, so we'll get everything out first. Okay, box of accessories. Okay, some packing. Let's throw that to the side there. Some more packing. And okay, as I said, backpack. So here we've got the motor section of it. Looks quite good, looks like quite well made from the first look. Just telling you 40:1 ratio for petrol to oil and 2-stroke, which I've got some 2-stroke here. Quick start guide. I'll need to read through in case it needs oil in it before we start. But yeah, it looks quite good so far. I'll place that down here. And a wee bit more packing in there, protecting it. And oh, the motor's on a swivel. A nice looking piece of kit so far. And we have, I think this is the drive shaft for it, as it's a backpack. This will go to the engine and then feed down to the cutter head. Have a little look. Yeah, it's like a big, almost like a big speedo cable. The drive shaft. Yeah. Packing down here, it's amazing. I like the packing that go through. Right, I don't know what you would call that. Okay, it's obviously like a cable clutch on that part. And the cutter head itself. Can't get the protective end off, but I would think. Oh, that's going to be hard to get off. Oh, there it goes. Well, certainly have to look at the instructions for that, because I would have expected that the, oh, that'll join on, yeah. So that'll go into there somehow, but we will look at the instructions. And that drive shaft that you saw earlier on, I would think, I'll have a look. Yep, it's just got the square drive, so that drive shaft will fit into here like a speedo cable. That'll drive down through here, down to this part, into the head. Okay, so that's us unpacked. I'll quickly have a quick nose through the instructions and then we'll come back to you and we'll start constructing it. Okay, accessory box comes with a toolkit. Hopefully this is all the tools we need to put it together. I don't know. As I said, we'll have a look through the instruction manual. A knob. Cable ties. So it looks like it might be for putting it together. That's a spark plug plus screwdriver, 8 and 10mm spanner, and a hex wrench, or Allen key, whatever you want to call it. We'll keep them in there just now, keep them together. I noticed on top of the main drive unit, it's got a wee bag there, so I take it that's for your toolkit. Put it there just now, I'll probably forget where it is. Okay, cutter spool. Do not install spool without installing a washer A first. Not seen a washer A. But that's the main spool. Seems quite well made, like ABS plastic or something. Cutter guard, plastic. Seems quite sturdy, but I would think you're cutting through brush, it'll disintegrate. I've actually used a stall one, and even the stall ones disintegrate eventually. Good question, don't know what it is. We'll find out in the instructions. And a mixing bottle for your 2-stroke. You do get 4-stroke versions which are easier. It's easier with 4-stroke and not one mixing. two-stroke one that are more expensive, quite a bit more expensive, and power output's slightly less than the two-stroke. So we'll move on to looking at the instructions. Now I've bought a lot of Chinese equipment in my time because I'm not using them professionally and they're just used now and again. Obviously I'm not going to spend thousands of pounds on a tool that I'll use once or twice. So just looking at this manual, looks to me like this is maybe produced in China. I don't know. It doesn't appear to be a Chinese company. It's .co.uk, so they're maybe purchasing. So just if you've bought Chinese stuff off of Shein or any of these places before, you maybe kind of recognise just the way things are printed. I don't know what it's about, and just the printing's not the same as you get in the UK. It's all the same stuff. So we'll start and go through it. Start from page 1. Okay, and we're just going to go through and quickly scan over the first things. Wear eye protection, danger, you might get seriously hurt, read and understand the user manual, wear long gloves, warning of fire because you're using petrol, warning, hard wood, stone and steel. Oh, it's basically saying don't try and cut hardwood. And watch bits don't ping off when you're using it to hit people. So that's all the warnings. Now it goes through type of engine is a 1E44FA. It's a single cylinder air cooled two cycle gasoline engine, in other words a two-stroke. It's 51.6 cc's. It's 1.46 kilowatts at 6,500 RPM for those of you who are interested in that kind of stuff. I really couldn't give them monkeys. Carburetor is a butterfly valve, which is the basic. It's a CDI electronic ignition system. It's a recoil starting, it's just a pull start. It's a 40:1 mix ratio for the petrol, so that's one part oil to 40 parts petrol is the mix. And if you don't do that, the engine will seize. The oil in it, like any two-stroke, is there to lubricate the engine. Dimensions, who gives the monkeys. Fuel tank capacity is 0.8 of a litre. The blade runs clockwise. Okay, so all good information, but what we want to know is how to put it together. So the brush cutter is mainly composed of these units, and it just has a breakdown of all these parts, and it's 1 to 16. I noticed in one of the reviews that I looked through before, it said that one complaint was it was a bit complicated and hard to put together. That's really down to the person that's actually putting it together. I mean, if you're a handless bugger, then it's going to be really hard, isn't it? But if you've got some kind of mechanical knowledge, then it'll be fairly easy. But sometimes these Chinese instructions aren't the best. So we'll go through. I'm not going to go through all the parts. We'll go through them and I'll name them as we go put them together. So, assembly. Assembly for drive shaft and gear case. Now, I can understand if people are putting these together and they're looking at gear case, drive shaft, and if they're not mechanically minded, they won't even know what a drive shaft and a gear case is. So, that could be what people are complaining about. So, it does have small pictures. Not actually the best illustrations. As I say, if I was putting this together, I would probably do pictures of the actual thing, colour pictures of the actual parts, but very, very basic. So, I mean, from this picture, it just says aluminious pipe and drive shaft. So, what we'll look at it's obviously with the cutter head, so it's this part here that they're talking about. So in this illustration, this part is not even connected to there, so it's actually telling me to put this together, and it's come already together. So great. First, insert the drive shaft into the hole, the small gear, make sure the hole of the M6 gear case in the hole, diameter of 7 of aluminium in the same level, tighten bolt M6 12 and screw M5 25. Now I'm looking at this, and this has all been done on this piece. Now the box never looked like it had ever been opened, so I don't think anybody's had this, and there's no marks or anything on it, so I don't think anybody's had this and it's been put together. So that's part number 1 already done. But yes, I can see the way it's written, it's definitely somebody Chinese has written it into English, just the way it reads. So I can see where those complaints have come from. Number 2, assembly for flexible shaft and drive shaft. Insert square of flexible shaft into the square hole of adapter. Then make the screw hole, which on the joint pipe and the flute of the flexible, and flexible is spelled F-L-E-C, flexible shaft on the same level, tighten the screw M530. So I'm definitely getting why people are complaining that it can be hard to assemble, because the instructions are absolutely shit. But it's basic assembly stuff. So hopefully we'll not go wrong. Okay, so which part are they speaking about? And I'll let you see if zoom into here. These are the illustrations, they're not too great. I mean, just quickly looking, I can't really tell which bit that they're on about. But from this flexible shaft on same level, tighten, I can think I know what I'm doing. So here's the flexible shaft. Okay, that's this flexible drive shaft, so it's coming round from you, from the engine. So I'll take the end cap, the protective caps off. And again, from that illustration, I don't even know which end that they're talking about here, so we'll have a look. I would suspect that that is the engine side, and this is the drive shaft side. So as I said when I looked at it, we've got this square shaft that's made from, it's actually cabling, specially wound, and then stamped into a square on the end to give a flexible shaft. So obviously if that was solid it wouldn't bang. Now, going by the trigger, I would say that this joins this way. So that will go down, it should lock into, yep. So there's a shaft in there which should contact with the shaft there. You know what, this could be a good video because it isn't very clear. Now we've got a plunger, if you zoom in on this, we've got this plunger here. Maybe I'm jumping the gun. No, I'm not, because it's telling me assemble blade after this. So yeah, I can see why people are complaining. But here is a plunger, it obviously detaches, sits in that position, and it allows that to clip in. It's now locked. Okay, I can't see anything about it there. Then once that's in the lower position, you can see there, that unlocks it. As a pin goes into a hole and that locks it. So that's locked in position. Okay, I do think this video is going to be quite useful for putting these together. I can't complain about the way it's been made so far. It looks quite good. Obviously it's not going to be the quality of a still. It's £89. I don't know what the price of the still one is, but it certainly won't be £89. It's more like £389 I would think. Okay, so we've connected these. Now I suggest, to make sure that the shaft in here is connected properly to the shaft in there, I suggest if you just either get a screwdriver. I can actually turn this with my hand. Now, if Lita, my camera person, now I'm turning it, you could probably put a screwdriver in there and turn it. I'm able to turn this with my fingers. Now if you look at the other end, as I'm rotating that, you can see that that head is rotating. Okay, so I know that this shaft, which is solid, is connected to the next shaft, which is connected to the head. So that, I believe, is all in position and the way it should be. I'm doing the daddy stuff now. I'm not looking at the actual instructions, but I'll have a quick look back. Now, it's going to assembly for blade. So it's jumped a complete section, and there's nothing about absolutely nothing about the connection to the engine. Now we can see where the complaints are coming from. So all those bits that I've covered, putting that part together, is covered by two sections, and it's covered by these two sections. Okay, and it basically tells you nothing. I'll just quickly run through it again. So assembly for the flexible shaft and drive shaft, that's what I've just done. Insert square of flexible shaft into the square hole of adapter, then make a screw hole which on the joint pipe of the flute of the flexible shaft, spelt with a C, on the same level tighten the screw M5 by 30. Okay, so there is a screw, and I think it's this one, but that's the diagram I've got. It's not clear. So I need to put the flexible shaft in. So that's showing the flexible shaft, and it does actually, from the description, look like this part of the shaft. So this goes in and it locks in position. Okay, so if you zoom in on here at an angle, you can see that square flexible shaft goes into this shaft here. Now, this is where, how do we lock it in? Does this come out? Over to the toolbox, and this will be where the Allen key comes in. And that Allen key doesn't fit. There's only one. Oh no, there is two Allen keys. I apologise. So, does that because of that shoulder, that'll only go into there. So I take it that this bolt just tightens down. Now it doesn't seem to go through anything. So, well, or does it? So we'll take this out. This is a 30mm M5. So we'll take this out to see if this goes down any further. And it does. Okay, so that goes in. You have to take this bolt out to get that shaft fully in position. And re-enter if it does. Now, there must be an area. So let's have a look at this. Yep. Okay. What I just said about this diagram, this is why it's causing confusion. This diagram, and looking at that shaft, that looks like that piece. It ain't. It's the wrong part. Okay, it is the wrong part. So if you're looking at this video to see how it goes together, don't go by that diagram. It's this end that goes to this cutter shaft. Okay, it's this end, and you'll tell from that by this groove. Okay, the groove in that, when you put that bolt in, locates that shaft and stops it from coming out. So it's not clear on the diagram. Okay, so put this one in again. You're putting the square into the shaft. Put it home. Obviously a protective cover there to stop rubbish going down into it. Now you have to get that, push that in fairly tight, and then you'll get the bolt to go through and it'll be in that groove. Your Allen key, yeah, and just remember, don't over tighten things. If you over tighten things, this is just aluminium or an aluminium type alloy. It's very, it's not that very strong where it's threaded. So if you go yarking that up really tight, you're going to strip that thread. So there you are. I'm doing it with 2 fingers. As soon as it gets pretty tight, that's tight enough where you'll strip the threads and you'll not be happy. Okay, so we now have the shaft together. We've now determined that this is absolute rubbish. So, Parker brand, you need to improve this. Okay, you need to improve it. It's not good for putting it together. Certainly if you're really not particularly mechanically minded, it is going to be a struggle to put this together. Okay, so we'll go to the next bit, saying assembly for blade. Now as I say, it's completely, it's totally disregarding the connection to the engine, so I'm actually going to have to fiddle this out or look at this myself. Okay, I've looked forward and it doesn't really show you. I know it's, if I put this cable on, the whole thing's going to be together, so it might be a bit less manageable putting the head on. But then once this is together, you're going to be changing from strimmer head to cutter head when it's all together anyway. So what we're going to do now is going to figure out how it connects to the engine. So, backpack. This is one of the reasons I bought this, because it had a backpack. One of the comments was if for some reason the strimmer stops, you either jam it or it runs out of fuel or whatever, you've got to take the backpack off to restart it. So that was the negative point. The positive point, because I've used these type of things before, if you've got an engine like this on the end of that pole, most of them will have a back strap, shoulder strap, harness that you clip on to take the weight of the unit, but it does get bloody tired to use it. So that's why I went for this type. I thought at that price and a backpack type, I honestly think that's a bargain. So we'll see. We'll see. It might actually be a load of rubbish, but we'll test it when the weather's better. So I would say the first thing you need to work out is what handage you are. I'm right-handed out of the backpack on, and I would use the strimmer like this. So if you see the angle, I want the cable to go around that way. If you were left-handed and were rolling that, you would want the cable to run around that way. So bear that in mind when you put it on, because the engine, although it swivels, it doesn't swivel all, well it does, but it wouldn't with the cable. So you're only going to get from there to there. So decide which way you want it. So I want it to this side, so I'm going to connect this engine that way. Okay, so the cable's coming around from my back to the right. So if you come around that way. Okay, so just the fact that the way that cable's fitted, this must be the bit that goes to the engine. Now looking at it again, if you zoom in there, there's the square shaft to the engine. So the output from the ship when that's running is going to come out into that square flexible shaft and down and drive the cutter. So without looking at the instructions again, because I don't know how clear they'll be, but we'll have a look. I didn't see anything about that, but I know just from other mechanical workings that this plunger is what holds this in. Now, can't see anything there, but if you rotate it around, lo and behold, a hole. So this hole is going to have to line up with this plunger when we insert it. So there's the hole. I need to insert that in there. Rotate that round to the same side as the plunger. Lift the plunger, and that's it, secured, solid. Control cable. Now that's like a clutch, I believe. So there's the wiring, and we need to look, that's the throttle cable, so we need to, I'll have another look at the instructions and see how the throttle cable attaches to the engine. Okay, I'll have a look. Nothing really obvious, but there's the carburetor on that side. So that's where the throttle cable should be going in. I can see a hole. Now, yeah, I can see it there. If you look down right in here, you'll need to come from above. You need to right from above. If you see in here, there's a lever. I can see a thread on it. So this cable will thread into that lever, but there's also a screw which will attach to that nipple. Now we'll pause here for a second because I'll have a quick look through the instructions, see if there's anything about this. Okay, I've looked through the manual. There's absolutely nothing about connecting the throttle cable. Okay, but it looks fairly simple. But this cover is going to have to come off. As my partner just pointed out, it doesn't actually matter which side you have this when you put it, because it will swivel, what, about 300 degrees right round. So it doesn't really matter which way the engine is when you put it on. So let's see if this Allen key fits here. Yeah. So this will, are we pretty well sure, have the air filter in it. This is all going to have to come off. There's nothing in the manual about it. But to actually connect the throttle cable, this has to come off. So this will be interesting. if you're taking this off, which you'll have to do that, there's a choke cable. Now you watch, you'll have to turn it. If you see what I'm doing, you have to turn it or you're going to break that choke cable. So be careful. And it rotates round, comes off, and there is your air filter. Now that just fell out and I didn't see which way it came out, so that's a bit of a bugger. Yeah, again, just looking at it, I would think it's going on this way. There's the filter. I don't see even any locating dowels, so let's deal with that when we go on. Now, come around this side. Now you see here, there's the threaded lever. Oh, it's not a lever, it's a positioner sitting there. So you can see that this part of the cable will thread into there, and this is a locking nut. Now, let's see where the throttle goes. Now, it's got to pull. There we go. Right. It pulls this direction. So therefore, there I can see it now. Now, pay attention to this bit. It will go through here. Thread into this. Just finger turning it. And you see where it is, where that slot, the cable will go through there. I can probably do it now. The slot has to be in line with the cable. Okay, you see it? And I'll push this further in. So you see me, the cable then has to drop down through that slot. Now that's not really... I take a look at that. Normally these things, well, you've just got to make sure there is a small hole bored in there, so you can see now, if you're nice and close, you can see the actual end of the cable goes inside of this and locks in position. Okay, so when this cable gets pulled, like that. Now again, says nothing about the setting this cable. So what I would do, I'm just using some mechanical mind I've got. There is a stop screw there. You would hope that was set to the right position from the factory. And to set the cable, you can see that's opening the throttle. So I'm thinking I'll screw this out until it just starts moving. So that's... I can't actually tell. So I don't want to move the throttle. Okay, you see that, the operation of the handle. So I want it to go all the way back to the stop. And I'm pulling it there just slightly. It's not doing anything. For me, that's probably the right position to lock it, but there's nothing in the manual. So we'll wind this in. We'll take the spanner that comes with it. So that'll be a 10, I would think. Yeah, and we just nip that up. Again, 2 fingers. And there we go. Throttles in operation. We then have the 2 contacts. Now that's clever. We've got a red and black wire going to 2 black wires, but luckily the connections, you see, are male and female, so technically you can't get it wrong. unless they've been put wrong on the factory. So male to female, male to female. Okay, what I might do personally with this, because you can see there's a gap here. Now when I put this together, I'm probably not going to take it apart. I'll store it away. I don't know, I'll leave it at the moment. But if I'm going to store this complete, then I'll probably put some kind of sleeving on that, heat shrink sleeving, to protect it, but we'll see. That's for a later date. So make sure that the metal contacts aren't outside these plastic sleeves, because if it touches some metal, then it can short and it'll not work. So there we have it, nearly put back together. Just got the air filter to go back on. We'll see if we can figure out in this next bit of the video how that goes together, and that'll be it completed. We then need to check lubrication. There doesn't seem to be basically any sump or anything to this. It's just purely lubricated by the two-stroke, so it is important. If you put just pure petrol in this, it's going to be ruined within minutes. Okay, it's going to overheat, it's going to seize up, and you've just lost your £89. So, but I'm just going to double check that there certainly wasn't anything in the manual about putting oil in the engine. I can't see anywhere to put oil in the engine other than the two-stroke. So yeah. So let's try and put this back on. Let's see, bit of a bugger that fell off and I couldn't see which way it came out. It's a very basic filter, just a piece of foam. So the foam obviously wrapped around here. It's not got a very nice face, we'll put it in that way. Okay, there's a few fingers there for it to go round. Now I would have thought it would be that'd be the locating dowel. There we go. It's got locating dowels top and bottom. If I can find the bottom one. Yeah, it's a bit flimsy this, but luckily it's maybe a good reason for not taking this thing apart all the time. That isn't a very good fit. If you can see, it's actually warped. It's not flat. Now I'm going to risk bending that a wee bit because it's not going on in locating tabs. So it is quite flexible, and hopefully that's enough to just get it to locate. Wouldn't advise doing that because it might break it, but it just does not tell you where those locating tabs are. That looks like it there. This part is very flimsy and it's not that great. And how I'm going to get this on, that's just going to fall off. So this is going to be a bit fiddly. You don't want to be doing this all the time. So you've got start, run, choke. As I showed before, we need to hook this around. I don't even know if I'm the right way around there. Yeah, it must be. Hook this around there. Okay, that seems to have located. I'm trying to do this blind so you can see what I'm doing. This screw should go in. Same with any, see if any of these screws don't go in easily, finger tight, don't try and force them, you'll knacker the thread. All these things are quite lightly made. So again, you can see I'm just using 2 fingers. I'm not going to over tighten that. I can see that's like plastic going in there, so, and I've caught that. Okay, we'll now move on to fitting the cutter head. Now I'm going to be using this mainly as, well, initially as a brush cutter because I'm wanting to cut away a load of brambles and stuff, so I'm going to go straight to fitting the brush cutter head. We might cover, when we go to use it, I might cover the use of putting on the actual strimmer head. We've also got this that I don't know so far what this is for. Not seen where it's come in so far, so we'll have to discover that. So whoever put the reviews in of it's not easy to build up, it is easy to build up, it's the instructions are absolute crap. So I'll maybe send a note to parkerbrand.com. You need to brush up on your instructions. I'll do it for a fee. So right, let's go on to the cutter head. I'll just move this down so we've got a bit of space for the cutter head. Pause. Okay, we're moving on to putting the cutter head on. First thing I'll do is, though, I said in the instructions, didn't see what this knob was for. I've worked it out. Okay, we've covered this locking together with this pin. There's also this area here, and this will lock it tight. So again, hand tight knob, don't overdo it. This is just a thin aluminium tube, so it doesn't take a lot to lock it in position. Okay, it'll be interesting to see if this comes loose during use. Okay, so that's our whole system put together. Now we just need to put a brush cutter head and I'll put that on with this. Now, so this is a guard. I'm just looking at it from here. Again, there's not really much distinction about how this goes on, but there's the bracket it goes on. Am I daft? That just looks... Ah. Now. Yeah. So that's going to go on like this. Okay. See, this is quite flimsy. I can't see this lasting that long. But we've got the captive nuts in here. It's the screwdriver head for that. Again, we'll get... What have I done with the toolbox? What have I done with the toolkit? Okay, this is 61-year-olds going senile. Here we go. Okay, so screwdriver. So just line up these screws. And quite fiddly. Okay, I've got one started, just get another one. Go diagonally. That's that one started. Again, only like if you can't turn these screws in with your finger, and this one's not starting. Okay, if you can't put them in with your finger, don't yank them up, you'll strip the thread. And I tell you, that really is from experience. I've stripped so many threads. So tighten that up. Again, I'm just using thumb and 2 fingers. Put a bit of pressure on. Now these do have spring washers on them, which should stop them from vibrating free. Okay, so that's all on fairly tight. Just check that. Yeah, that seems a wee bit loose, so I'm just going to nip that up with. So I would suggest that you just check all the other screws. It's fairly tight. All the Allen keys, see on that, that isn't too tight there. Okay, I'm doing that with my finger. So that was already assembled, that part. And just a little bit loose. So go around checking the other parts. Okay, I think that's fairly tight now, it is plastic. Yeah, this bit was assembled as well, that's tight. That's the bigger one. And that's tight. Okay. So, we need to take this off. Now, take it this spanner fits. What I need to do is take this. Now, that is turning. So how do we lock this? So obviously that's tight on that shaft. Now it doesn't tell me how to lock this to take this off. We'll have another look because there is parts of the instructions on putting the cutter heads on. So on this it says do not install the spool without installing washer A. This is a washer A. Okay, but we're not going to be using this, we're going to be using this. So let's see what it says about fitting. I know on a still one you have different assembly for your cutter, your brush cutter head, so yeah. Okay. Okay, so assembly for blade. I'm just reading directly at the instructions. First, fix the hole of the cutter holder with the hole of the gear case. Insert spanner S4. See picture, figure 4. Picture 7. After installing blade, cutter, holder cap and washer, tighten with nut. Make the click into two side after inserting it finally. Sounds a bit phallic, that. Notice, A. The hole of blade must fix with the cutter holder properly, if not it will cause big vibration. The nut M820 must be tightened anti-clockwise, picture 8. So anti-clockwise, tighten. That's a left-hand thread for those who've never come across a left-hand. Everybody normally remembers putting bolt heads on, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Not if you've got a left-hand thread, it's the opposite. You need to be very careful of that. People in the past have absolutely knackered things thinking they're unscrewing it or tightening it up by going the wrong way. So it's a left-hand thread, it does tell you. So again, I can understand. Now, this is a diagram. Okay, now from that I'm taking that this bolt comes out and this can be put in to lock, actually lock that nut, so I can then take it off, because there's no way of untightening it or tightening it. And it's a left-hand thread, so even I need to think about it's not righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Okay, so we'll take this off. Take out that short stubby, it's not making contact with anything, it's just a blanking screw. This, it says goes in there but it doesn't, so we'll use that. Okay, it's saying pin, but the only thing that's going to fit in that hole that's in this kit is the smaller Allen key. So we'll put it in and we'll rotate this round, and I'm not feeling anything. Oh, alright, so it's locking here. Now I need to be, because this is facing down the way, I'm trying to get in my mind which way this is turning. So this pin does seem to lock it. Now, righty is not, shouldn't be tighty. Righty is loosey on this, if you understand what I'm saying. So to unlock this, it's turning right, and these are the assemblies. Okay, so that, I'm just holding that there. Now I'll turn this over so we can have a look at it. Okay, this has got splines. This has got splines. This pin, we're using it to lock that in position as we're trying to, you see, it can lock it in position. So we need to use that to lock this, to tighten that bolt. Now, back to the instructions. Back to the instructions. We've got to the hole of the blade must fix with the cutter properly. Doesn't tell you what properly is. We have at least what looks like a decent diagram here, so we'll zoom in on this diagram. Okay, so this is what we're going by. Right, assembly, that's for the nylon wheel, we're not doing that. Okay, so head. Then this piece. Now, I've just seen something there. I've got this wrong, okay? Because in here, you have a hole. In that part, you have a hole. So, I'm going to put this back in. That actually looks like it might, as I put that in there, there's an area with lubricant in it, so this might just be a point for putting grease in, which I'll certainly be doing. When I use it, I'll be using that to pump some grease in here. It's not a grease nipple, but I'll put grease in there because there'll be gears in here which need lubricated. Okay, so nip that up. So I've just noticed that with this, yep, that goes on here and locks in. So with this hole and that hole aligned, you can lock that off and that doesn't move. So that's what to use. Okay, it's not very clear, but that's definitely how that goes. So we use that to lock it in. I've got that in position. Blade. I'll take the cover off. It just says ensure the blade is installed centrally on the raised area. Okay, that's fine. So it's centralized. You need the raised area here, and that goes on there. Now, which way up does it go? It's got lovely warnings here. Correct installation. But it also, right, if you remember at the start, it says that the head rotates clockwise, okay? So, I'm taking it, it's going to rotate that way, okay? That's the way I'm taking it. Depends which way you look at it, isn't it? And it doesn't, it's not clear on there. So I'm taking it, it's going to rotate clockwise, which means that arrow's on there. This isn't 100% clear. So I'm taking it, it's going to rotate that way. I'm looking down on it and it's going to go clockwise. So that is going to go that way, isn't it? Well, if that is rotating that way, that has got to go that way. I've got my cameraman saying,
that's anti-clockwise.
No, it doesn't.
That's anti-clockwise.
Yeah, the way you're looking at it. I'm looking at it that way.
So you mean?
See? It says that that's going to rotate clockwise. So until we, well, you know what? We can test this. We can test it. Because I'm unsure, I'm going to test it. Now, later my camera is going to look at that and see which way that's going to turn when I pull the pull cord. Is it turning? It's not.
No.
It's not turning.
No.
It's not turning at all.
No.
Right, there's something wrong there. But that should be turning.
Cool.
Okay. I've had a look and we can't determine which way this is going to turn at the moment. You can't tell from here. It said in the instructions it said it turns clockwise. Now I would take it, it turns clockwise. From you as an operator looking down it, it's going to go clockwise. Okay, so we'll put that on that way at the moment. I thought if I pulled the pull cord on the engine, I could tell which way the drive is going to turn, but there appears to be some kind of, there'll be a clutch inside it. So when I'm pull starting it, it's not doing anything. It's only when the revs pick up that this clutch will operate and the blades will turn. So we can't tell for definite which way this is turning. So at the moment I'm going to go that it's clockwise from the operator's position. So clockwise from the operator's position is looking that way. So if you're looking down on it, which you'll have to come probably around the other side. So if you're looking down on it, clockwise is that way. So if you're looking at that blade, clockwise will be that way. So the blade would have to go on this way. So blade's going on that way. This piece is going on, and we'll have to have it in position so we can lock that to put the nut on. We put that, and it has to be centralized over there. We'll look at the diagram. So we'll have the cover, the key piece, the blade. Now it's not clear which washer it is. I'm going to go with this washer. It's not really clear on that. Washer like that gets a good grip around the blade. That one, I believe, is for that. So this one on here. And remember, it's lefty tighty. So look, if you look at this, it's lefty tighty. I'm turning that anti-clockwise to tighten it. Okay, we've got to that position, finger tight. We then have to insert I'll try and turn that over for you. Okay, so to tighten this up, if you come around this side, I need to line, see that doesn't go in there either. So it's saying to use this, but that doesn't actually go in, so we'll use this one. Yep. So we'll turn this, and that locks in to the bit underneath here. So that now is locked. So then put the spanner on and lock that tight. Now it doesn't have how many Newton meters to tighten this up. I'm using 3 fingers. It's a hardened steel shaft, so I don't want this fucking blade coming off at high speed, so we'll lock that up quite tight. I can't really describe to you how tight I'm putting that, but it's unfortunate. But the only other way would be to use a it's escaped my mind. But that's fairly tight. Don't want that blade coming off. So I'm using like my palm and the length of that to tighten it. I'm not putting full strength in it, but it is quite tight. And that is in position. So we've now constructed it, we've put it together. The only concern is once we fuel this up and we get it going, I need to make sure that that blade is rotating that way. So from the top, it should rotate clockwise. Okay, so we'll check that once we fuel it up and hopefully get it going. Okay, but we can't check that. We've got a disagreement here. My partner's shaking her head, but if she comes down this side and tells me what way that blade is to turn clockwise, just line yourself up with where you would be operating it and you're looking down on it, which way is clockwise. Right, that way. So I'll push that, you go around the other side. And is that blade turning the way the arrow says it should turn? Yes. What way is that from where you're looking at it? That's anti-clockwise from where you're looking at, isn't it? Yeah. So there's where the confusion lines up. So the blade turns clockwise. If you're standing there, it's turning clockwise. If you look another way, it's turning anti-clockwise. Which way does it go? Until we start that up, we don't know. Okay, so obviously if it rotates that way, we'll have to change the blade round. Okay, but there's no way we can tell that until we actually start it up, which way that's going to rotate. But from the manual, again, we've worked out it's absolute shit. But from the manual, it says it turns clockwise. I would say that they would determine it turning clockwise from the way that you're looking at it and operating it. Because nobody operates it looking at it like that. You don't look at a blade from underside. Okay, so you look at it from down that way, and from down that way, that's clockwise. We'll find out. Hi, back again. Discovered on the blade, despite in the manual saying that the blade rotates clockwise, actually it rotates anti-clockwise. Clockwise if you face from underneath it, but I don't think anybody's going to go underneath a chopping blade. And a wee giveaway is on the guard, it shows the direction of rotation, therefore the blade needs fitted in the method of rotation. Okay, so that's that done. The other part that came up was the handle. It doesn't have anything. Right, so we've got the handle to attach. I've split it into two, and it's got a rubber bung to go around the shaft of the drive. It's quite easy to fit. Again, it's not got anything written in the actual instructions about doing it. Split this rubber boot, wrap it round, and basically you need to work out the position that you want the handle to be in. So we'll just lightly tighten it up at the moment. Again, I'm using my own tool here, but the kit comes with the appropriate Allen key. I just find my own tool easier to use. So I'm kind of looking at my hand's going to be on the control there, and my other hand is going to be gripping there. So I'm going to place the handle about that position, and you can adjust it another time to what you want. So that's the actual building up of the whole thing. Done, complete. I'm not going to cover the two-stroke. I don't have any petrol, but already had 40-to-1 two-stroke mixed up for my chainsaw. I'll just show you the bottle. I've actually marked. I put a bit of red pen on the bottle, but this is quite easy to follow. Fill it up to that mark with petrol, and then finish up to the top mark with two-stroke oil, and that'll give you a 40-to-1 mixture for your bush cutter. So to start it off, it does have an instruction label. I've checked, it doesn't need any oil in anything other than the fuel. It's got a quick start guide, and that's good. I'll not go through it. Well, I will. Okay. Underneath there's a fuel bulb, like a rubber bulb, which you'll find on a lot of petrol implements. There's no on and off cock on this. You put the fuel in the fuel container. You then pump the fuel bowl until the fuel bowl, and you'll see the actual fuel coming up into the carburetor. You then set it to the start position, then 2 pulls. If it doesn't start within the 2 pulls, you still put the choke down to the run position, and it should start. Now I've already started this, and it did start on the 4th pull. I pulled it twice on the start position, put it to the run, pulled it twice, and it started. Then let it run for a minute before it could use the throttle. And the automatic clutch in it operates. Once the speed picks up, your blades will start turning. I'll just show you that. So I'll actually try it to start it on the run, because I have already started it. So there's your first time start. On start, pull twice. If it doesn't start, still put it down to run and pull again. It should start. If you do a couple of pulls and it doesn't start, back up to run, give it a pull, and it should start. It seemed to start fairly easily the first time. Okay, so I've put my foot on the frame underneath to hold it down. It's on the run position this time. And off it goes. I've not adjusted this, and it's quite tight. If you're a big person, you don't know what other adjustment is, but that's quite tight on me. I take it there will be more adjustment, and that could be a problem if you're rather chubby. That's as loose as it goes on me, so if you're quite a weight, you might struggle getting on. And the car's flip is just here. So, there we go. That's the Parker brand brush cutter. And I'm sorry if you've not seen this video and you had to try and put it together yourself, because the instructions, yes, are rubbish. Okay, thanks for watching this video, and if we start the channel, please subscribe. Bye.